We did see in last class that we had two kind of approaches where data can be dealt with. One is the file system approach and the other is the database system approach. Long back, traditionally we were using files, but nowadays we do use databases. Now let us find out why have databases evolved more than file system approach, or what we'll see is what are the drawbacks of using a file system. The first drawback of using a file system is data redundancy and inconsistency. Now, by the word redundancy, you mean repetition or duplication. Now, look over here. You have a payroll file, you even have an invoicing file, and you even have a management inquiry file. Now, when I talk about an employee, all the details of employee, his number, name, address will be there in the payroll. The same details, they even will be there in the management inquiry. The same details will be there even in payroll, even in management inquiries, which means it is a repetition of data or a duplication of data. But when you look into the database system approach, the same set of data, it can be used for different applications. So that is the main disadvantage of the file systems, data redundancy. And imagine the address of an employee changed. The employee, he is having a change of residence. Let's say Manuel. I do have a record called Manuel. Manuel is currently staying in a place called Kochi. And in his initial employee file, it is Manuel Kochi. One fine day, Manuel plans to move to Mumbai. So in my employee basic details file, I changed the address to Manuel Bombay, Mumbai. But in his management inquiry file, I forgot to make the change. Still, it is Manuel Kochi itself. So there is actually an inconsistency. If there is a change in the record, I have to make changes in many places. So that was the problem with file systems. But be it in databases, if Manuel changes his residence to Mumbai, I make a change in a single place because all these tables are linked. The change will be reflected everywhere. Another difficulty in file system is the way in which you access data. Now imagine you need to find out which are the students who have passed out their degree from Kannur University. Okay, imagine you want to find out which all students have done their graduation in Kannur University. Now, imagine it is a file system. Imagine it is a file system. What happens is the programmer, he writes a program for this. He writes a big fat program to find out all the students who have passed out from Kannur University. One fine day, he wants to find out which are the students who passed out from Kannur University who have a mark between 50 and 60. Okay, now with this old program, he will not be able to do anything. He has to write a completely new program to find out Kannur University, which are the students who got a mark between 50 and 60. So for each job you want to do, you should make a completely different set of a program. But imagine it is a database management system. You have a beautiful thing called querying, which is done through something called SQL, querying language called SQL. So all what you want to do is each time you have new requirements, you just need to modify your query a bit. You have a query, you just need to play on it a bit, and then you will get the next answer. So that was also a problem in file system, difficulty in accessing data. Each time you need to do something, you have to write a completely new program. Now, Another thing is data isolation, because as I told you, each thing in file system, it is stored in different files. You make a change over here. Imagine I have something called roll number. Okay, roll number happens in my first file, and roll number even happens in my fourth file. Okay, roll number, that is a roll number in my first file and even in my fourth file. Imagine initially I set the data type of roll number as integer in both. Okay, in my first and in my fourth, I set roll number as integer, which means I will be able to make only a roll number, let's say 101. One fine day, I feel that, I don't like roll numbers like 101. Let me include something like M in front of it. M101. So what do? I change this data type from integer, and then I make this data type of roll number as char, because I need to accommodate my M also. So now roll number is M01. But I forgot to do one thing. Here, this particular fourth file, no, I forgot to make a change. This fourth file, I forgot to make it a character. It is still integer. So now what happens is, in multiple files, I am having multiple format of data, which means, there is going to be a mismatch if it were a file system. But, imagine it is a database. I will be needing this roll number mainly only in one. And then it is the same roll number which is connected to many places, even my fourth file. So I make a change over here. The change is reflected in all the tables which are connected. So that was another problem of file system, data isolation, multiple files and multiple formats. The next problem of file system is something called integrity problems. Okay, now imagine you have a voting system. Imagine you have a voting system. As you all know, in India, you need to be greater than 18 years of age if you need to vote. Now, in your voting system, you'll have details of people who are only greater than 18 years of age. So which means, you will be entering the date of birth, and an automatic calculation will happen with the current date. They will check whether you're 18 years of age, and only if you are above 18 years of age, your data will be entered. Now imagine a calculation happens and then they find that you are 17 years of age. You will be getting an alert that you will not be able to register. Okay, so imagine we have such a system. We have such a system in which only ages greater than 18 can be accepted into the system. Anything less than 18, it will be rejected. Now, setting such type of conditions. Okay, conditions, another name is constraint. Okay, condition, another name is constraint. Now, setting such type of constraints or integrity constraints is very common in databases. For example, if you have a bank account, as you all know, bank account, it should be greater than zero or greater than zero. You never have a bank account where you have something, a negative number. The same way, voting, you cannot have a candidate in your voting list who is less than 18 years of age. Now imagine one fine day the government decides, okay, the one fine day the government decides 18 shouldn't be the minimum age. Instead, let us make the minimum age as 21, which means now the constraint, the integrity constraint, it needs to be changed from 18 to 21, which means very simple, this old constraint, it should be modified, or you should do away with this old constraint and create a new constraint. Now imagine if it was a file system. It is actually possible, but it is very, very difficult. The complexity of creating a new constraint or modifying an existing constraint is very difficult in file systems. But in database systems, things are very, very easy. Just find out where you have written the constraint. This number called 18, very simple, change it to 21. That's it. So integrity problems, they were also an issue in file systems. Another main drawback of using the file systems were atomicity of updates. Okay. Now, you all remember we seeing the FEDINA. Okay. Now, usually when exam time comes, what happens is you have to pay a nominal exam fees. Just like, you pay to the university, you have to pay an exam fees to the college. Now, imagine I have a student, let's say Anthony. Okay. Anthony, he is paying 100 rupees to the college account. Okay, to the college account, he is paying 100 rupee to write the examination. But what happens is, Anthony, he starts the payment of 100 rupee to the college account, but what happens is the power goes away. The power goes away. Okay, now imagine if it was a file system. Imagine if it was a file system, what would happen is, from Anthony's account, 100 rupee would have gone away, but it would not have reached the college account. Okay. If it was a database system, even though Anthony started off his transaction and the power goes away, this transaction will not stay debited from here and not credited. It would either be not at all credited from Anthony's account, or it would have surely reached the college account. Atomicity of updates means either the transaction, the whole thing should have been happened. Okay, the whole thing means, money should have gone from Anthony's account. Money should have gone from Anthony's account and even reached the college account, or nothing should have happened, or nothing should have happened. It should not have gone from Anthony's account and it shouldn't have reached the college. Either the whole transaction should happen, or the whole transaction should not have happened. You shouldn't have something like, partial state. Okay, so partial states, it usually used to happen in file systems, but databases, they see to it that these kind of partial updates are not there. The next problem with file system was concurrent access by multiple users. Concurrent is simultaneous. By concurrent, I mean simultaneous, at the same time. Concurrent means at the same time. Now imagine your parent has a bank account. Okay, your parent, let's say I call my parent as P. Your parent has a bank account for which he has two cards. Okay, he has a card 1 which he uses, and for the same bank account he has even a card 2 which he gives to you so that you can use money. Imagine his bank account has 1,000 rupee. Imagine your parent, the bank account has 1,000 rupee. At the same time, both of you, using the different cards, go to two different ATMs. Your parent, he takes 100 rupee, and you are a bit more minimal. You take 50 rupee. Now tell me, what will be the balance in your account? Now, very simple mathematics. The balance amount should be 850, because a person takes 100, a person takes a 50. Now this 850 is possible only if it is a DBMS. DBMS will support all these kind of concurrent access by multiple users. I have multiple users over here. Two users at the same time, let's say at 9:30 a.m. at the same second they are withdrawing. But imagine if it was a file system. If it was a file system, when your parent takes the balance account, it will show 900. And when you take the balance, it will be showing 950. So it is a total mismatch. At the same point of time, the same P account, it is having different balances, one of 900 and one of 950, which is totally unacceptable. So these kind of problems were happening in file systems. But when you are started to migrate to databases, because this concurrent access by multiple users were supported, be it you or your parent, whoever takes the balance amount, you would be able to get it as 850, and it is at that moment that your father or your mother get to know that you have also taken money from his account. So these were the problems of file systems. And a very big problem was security problems, because file systems, they didn't have these advanced securities, passwords. Of course they did have passwords, but these